All right, we're live.
Hello, welcome to the Punk Rock Libertarians Podcast, episode 513. I am Otto. Tonight I'm joined with Jared. Oh, Justice for Peanut, sorry.
Oh, I forgot to change that. That's old news now.
Yeah, that's
No one cares
20 years
about
ago.
Peanut anymore. But yeah, what's up, guys?
Well, and then this is an ever-present, nickname, but Paranoid Crypto Anarchist.
I'm
James
still
Matt.
paranoid, still a crypto anarchist. Great to be here. I'm
Exactly.
enjoying one of my favorite treehouse beers. Check it out.
Nice. That is so cool. Like, you
This
guys,
is what-
you're listening, it's an awesome can with a bunch of, like, hooded,
Oh.
skulled figures over what is that?
Is that a UN meeting?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that one where Trump met with the Saudis and they both
Yeah,
hugged
with the
that
orb.
globe.
The
Oh,
orb. Yeah.
Or here's Alex. Okay, good. Notice
Here he is.
going to
Oh,
talk
he wasn't
about-
destroyed by the Russians. That's great.
Yeah, we
No,
thought we were
not
hit-
yet.
Apparently, the Russia just got hit by according. I don't know. Douglas McGregor posted it. Some place in Russia I can't pronounce just got hit with massive explosions. So probably our tax dollars paid for that.
So
Oh, jeez.
it would be what, Ukrainian missiles, aka US missiles?
Our missiles from Ukraine smashing inside Russia.
Hmm.
Yeah, no.
Hey,
that old thing.
I feel like they're just like, this is our last chance for World War III. Give it everything we got.
Let's go.
Yeah, they're called like
I don't know.
ATACMS. They're
Marco
like
Rubio is going to
military-
be. Marco Rubio is going to be our Secretary of State, so
I
it
know
might
we've
not.
been talks. We haven't.
It might not be our last chance.
I know. So we
well,
haven't
who
talked
does he want to
since
go to
then.
war with? I thought like he's more the
China.
like China and Iran kind of a warmonger.
Well, you
Yeah, I mean, he's still
believe-
pro-Israel though. But yeah, I don't know.
Obviously, they're pro-Israel. We're
Yeah.
talking about people in power.
Maybe
Yeah,
Russia. I don't
no.
think he's a Russia antagonist from what I've seen. But
You guys are spoiling everything. What if people don't pay attention to politics, just our podcast, and they don't know who won because we haven't been on? We got to tell the good people what happened.
we were broadcasting when he won
Well, Alex was
in the
9
ninth
hours
hour. In the ninth hour.
into a very drunken.
I mean, if you didn't watch all 9 hours of the
Let me
election
announce it.
show,
Let me go ahead and announce it that Mossad won. So
Yes, there
everyone
you
can
go.
rest assured that
The government
that
won.
genocide
Everybody.
will continue unimpeded.
And for some inexplicable reason, you were playing Ill Bill or something at the end of the show, or Project, or what were you playing?
Oh, Jedi mind tricks. Yeah.
Jedi
Nice.
Mind Tricks. So as I went back and I watched the last like 30 minutes of it at the end, and I was like, I got to see what kind of shit show this was. And like Scott was I could just look at his face like, oh man, he's so hammered. It was so cool.
We watched.
and
we
then
watched
Tim was on
the
there.
We watched a Killdozer documentary. It was great. It was good times. Just hanging out.
And then like all of a sudden, Alex, you just like, all right, bye. And then you left and just played like the whole song from Jedi Mind Tricks, and it just like went black. I'm like, that is the most Alex way to end a podcast. It's like 4 a.m. It's insane. But yeah, so Donald Trump's the president-elect for now. And yeah, so there's World War III. There's been so many things. So, but yeah, let's talk about these neocons he's appointing. Let's talk about it. It was almost like all right, we'll let the domestic picks, we'll let them be kind of America firsters, but sorry, we got to do Israel first when it comes to foreign policy. Sorry, guys.
yeah,
Marion Adelson, that $100 million she gave me.
yeah. Did you see
All
that? Oh, I wish I had pulled. I didn't have any time because I had computer issues. But did you see the clip where they were interviewing some Israeli, I don't know, some Israeli government group, and asking them how they felt about like Trump's cabinet picks, and they were like, "Yeah, we were worried, but now we're doing the Hora."
Oh my god.
I mean,
Yeah, they're
real joke's
excited.
Gonna be, unfortunately, the joke's going to be in the LP, right? He better at least get Ross out because
That's it. That's the only thing he promised the LP.
Yeah.
That's it.
No, he promised a libertarian in his cabinet.
Did
Yeah, but
he
he's gonna
promise
say
that?
he's
Oh,
gonna
he
say
did.
he's gonna.
Okay, I'm not sure, but
Oh, he
all I know
did.
for sure is Ross Ulbricht. That's the only thing I'm holding.
Oh, he
him to.
did. He promised that. He's promised some other wacky shit too, like Bitcoin strategic reserve. Like some of the dumbest
he didn't
shit.
want the LP didn't. We just wanted Ross. That's it. That was the thing. That was the main thing we're holding him to. And who knows?
He better deliver that because the price might be incredibly high.
But what if they actually do get rid of the Department of Education?
They're not getting rid of the Department of Education.
We already
What are you
appointed
talking
someone
about?
to be in charge of it. He's not getting rid of it. That was never going to happen.
No, you don't think the Doge is going to get rid of it?
Doge. So
Elon?
Elon, do your thing.
What's his name? The Indian dude?
Vivek Ramaswamy?
Vivek? Yeah, you don't think Vivek's going to...
Hell no.
I don't. I'm not holding out for shit. I don't care. All I wanted was Ross out.
Well, here, I mean, there's some other
Well,
really, I mean, he's promised some scary, scary shit. And for libertarians that maybe contributed to his election, even in a small way, are going to have some accounting to do. You know, this mass deportations. He said he's going to bring the army in to do mass deportations.
He's not deporting anybody.
I'm just saying what he's promised.
I mean, let's look at Biden has deported more people than both Trump and Obama combined.
Really?
Yes.
More than Obama?
Yes. And Obama did a shitload.
Right.
I think Obama
had
did
done
more than Trump.
Obama, I thought, had done more than every other president before him combined.
Yeah, I think Biden even did more. Or he at least did more than them separately. But I think it was combined.
Yeah.
This is going to be, I mean, if they roll out some serious police state stuff, it's going to be dark.
There's no police states. Everyone keeps saying this. It's
They had,
never gonna happen.
There was one guy
Status
on
quo.
Rogan.
I mean, he was
Status
saying the
quo,
same
my
shit
friend.
last time. He was saying the same
Yeah.
kinds of shit last time. Like, we're going to build the wall. We're going to throw Hillary in prison. Like, none of that shit happened.
Okay.
If you can't put Hillary in prison, how are you going to deport, millions of people?
with the
Yeah,
army.
dude.
I don't know. People are demanding it. People are begging for it. People that are friends of this show are like, "Oh, please, mass deportations." They're getting a Woody over it. Okay?
What friend of the show saying that shit?
But
Me.
Dave Smith?
Kyle. Yeah.
Kyle?
Kyle's actually not, I think Kyle's pretty based when it comes to this stuff.
There's a lot of people that I was really surprised to see how quick they went to cheer for full police state.
Oh,
I mean, that's sad. But
there
that's
was a
why
guy
that's why I've been pushing back on all this fucking border cuck shit for the last 4 years, is because it ultimately leads to supporting shit like this.
But it's not. You see, I think it's all that stupid, that anarch, liberty, whatever, libertarian, lefty stuff, in your head. No, it's not happening. Status quo is what matters. Status quo. He's not going to jeopardize his, anything with it's going to upset the nation right now. Everything's hanging on by a thread. I'm telling you guys, he's not doing any of that shit.
No, I don't believe he. I don't believe he is either. I don't believe he is either.
I'm not all for mass deportations or anything, but again, at the end of the day, what the fuck? Who cares? I mean, they can talk and say whatever they want. It's not gonna happen. Who cares? He didn't even build a fucking wall. Come on now.
That's what I'm saying. He couldn't put Hillary in prison, and he's supposed to
Right.
somehow get.
Everyone's all getting all scared.
The agenda continues. This time, it's not a physical wall; it's a digital wall. And we're all going to need a digital ID. We're all going to just need to know who everybody is. It's we're going to.
That's more likely, yeah.
Here, and with an ID, with a digital ID, and then you're going to need a
happening
digital ID to
regardless.
get on the internet, and then a digital ID to cross the border.
Oh, social media. They already said they already support the idea of social media. You need to have an ID, to be on social
so that's
media.
that's what the wall is going to be.
Yeah.
It's going to be digital.
Well, they already have the real ID, right? The real ID.
Yeah.
You already need your ID to do anything. Fly, you need your ID.
Mm-hmm.
Get into a bar.
Just not vote. Can't have that.
I can't even buy beer at Wegmans grocery store without my ID.
Yeah, I mean, I'm getting carded. still. I'm almost 40.
One time I went into Wegmans with an expired driver's license, okay? and they're like, "Nope, sorry."
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
"Wait a minute." I said, "But last month you knew I was old enough, right?" He's like, "Yeah." But this month you're not sure. Correct. Okay. I
I mean, in
That was
Maryland,
like-
you have to have an ID in order to drink or buy cigarettes. You have to scan your ID. They physically cannot sell you cigarettes unless you scan your ID.
Wait, you smoke cigarettes?
That's not true. I've definitely bought cigarettes without scanning my ID.
You guys don't smoke
talking
cigarettes,
about?
do you?
I mean,
I don't-
occasionally.
I don't.
They
But
check
I'm
my
saying I
ID
go
to buy
to-
spray paint at Home
Dude,
Depot.
no. I'm buying my poison. I'm behind the guy buying cigarettes with my big thing of chips and soda. And
Yeah, with your seed oils.
that's how I know. my 7-Eleven rollers,
We've all got our own vices.
Yeah.
Got to be careful, Otto.
Mine's
RFK's
cigarettes,
gonna-
yours is seed oils.
Yeah, RFK's about to deport your ass.
I know.
Yeah, when's RFK rounding up all the fucking seed oil producers like the Cassocks or whatever,
Yeah.
I know, right?
Send you into seed oil detox.
or the Kulaks, whatever, the farmers or whatever.
You saw the photo from Trump's plane with the new crew.
Yeah, when he's eating
And,
eating McDonald's.
RFK Jr.'s got a Big Mac.
He's like, and I posted
Very
where someone
sad.
said it's like when the drug dealers make you do drugs to make you think, to prove you're not a narc.
That was great.
Hey, but let's face it. I think RFK can handle a Big Mac. I mean, he can stomach genocide. What's a few seed oils?
Oh,
Yeah.
boom, 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 boom. Where's the mic? Play it, Jared. Play it.
What?
You
Which
gotta have it
one?
on the soundboard.
Oh,
The siren.
too late.
Like, gotta be quick on the draw, man. You gotta be quick to the draw.
Sorry, I zonked out for a second. Do we want to bring our guest in?
Oh,
Yeah.
our guest is here.
Yeah, he's been here for like 10 minutes.
Oh, well. Oh, there you go. I can't see anything. Oh, yeah.
There we go.
go.
He might have pieced for a little bit, but when he comes back, Oh, there he is.
Oh,
Aaron Day. Testing.
What's up?
Can you hear us?
we can't hear you.
Can't hear you. He's there. We see him.
You hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah.
There we go.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right.
glad you can
Welcome,
join us.
yeah, welcome to the Punk Rock Libertarians, Aaron. You're going to have to introduce yourself because I know you're involved in some different things. Most recently, some advocacy for Roger Vere's case, trying to raise some awareness. And you've got a big crypto history. So why don't you give us your quick bio?
Sure, I'll give the quick bio. I started out, I'm the guy that started an Ayn Rand club in high school and then dropped out of college and got a bunch of other people to drop out of college and started an internet company in
Nice.
like 1995. Sold that, then started a healthcare company, and it was destroyed by Obamacare, Dodd-Frank, and Attorney General Eric Holder. So that turned me into a full-time liberty activist. So I moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. Eventually was the chair of the Free State Project for a while, got involved in politics, running like super PACs and some other organizations. My wife was doing this as well, running the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. And so we helped get, a couple hundred people elected at the state level, but gave up on politics in 2018 and decided to focus exclusively on crypto. And I'll say in the middle of this process, I learned about Bitcoin originally from Roger Ver in 2012, but I'd also heard about it from Ian Freeman and Mark Edge. And when I exited politics, I'm like, you know what? Politics is dead. I'm just going to, exit everything that I'm doing. I used to live in a 6,000 house, consolidated everything down to 2 suitcases, went all in on crypto. And then I saw friends of mine being targeted, fellow Free Staters being targeted by the federal government, this intersection of crypto and liberty. So it's like, why are they going after Ian Freeman? Why are they going after Jeremy Kauffman? And when I started researching, and I'm like, okay, the reason that they're trying to shut down crypto is to usher in CBDCs. They can't have competition for CBDCs. And so literally this is government policy under Biden, this executive order 14067. And which does 2 things. It authorizes the U.S. government to pursue a CBDC, and it also authorizes a whole of government approach to cracking down on crypto. And that's what they've been doing. That's why they've been suing all of the exchanges. That's why they're throwing people in prison, the whole 9 yards. So I wrote a book about this, and I'm like, I even ran for president, in the Republican primary specifically to raise awareness to the issue. I didn't have any delusion or even any desire to actually be president, but it was, I actually got to
Be a
debate
libertarian with that strategy.
I got to debate Chase Oliver. I actually debated libertarians, Mike Thurmond. I debated all those guys. I never got into the Republican debates.
Wait a minute. You
Which
debated
which
Mike
libertarian
Thurmond?
did you debate?
You
Yeah,
debated
they-
Mike Tremont?
Yeah,
I didn't hear
not
any
much-
libertarians in there.
Yeah, I didn't hear
Yeah.
any libertarians.
Wait, but Aaron, you should know if anybody. Don't talk to cops.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, no. So here was my platform, and nobody wanted to cover this. I actually had a different shirt. Now I wear shirts of people that are in prison. But my original shirt was this big heart on it and said bank run now, stop World War III, halt CBDCs, end the Fed. That was my entire political strategy was a bank run.
Nice.
And when I was debating like Termott and all these other guys, they thought I was too extreme. So I
Of
would do
course.
these debates and like, oh, that's ridiculous. I'm like, really? So you guys think you're going to get in and what, get a majority in Congress and you're going to end the Fed? Like this literally these debates from like March or April or whatever of last year.
Yeah,
So
so
anyway,
stupid.
I obviously I realized I wasn't going to get into the debate, so I quickly dropped out. And now I'm at the Brownstone Institute writing about CBDCs, but also I do workshops across the country, 4-hour workshops where I not only teach people about what CBDCs are, but I help onboard people to do what I do. So I give them a crypto wallet. I show them how to use gold backs. I show them basically how to ditch the dollar and avoid CBDCs by living on alternative currencies. So that's been the thrust of what I'm doing. But I've interviewed people. I have my own podcast, and I interviewed Roger 3 weeks before he was thrown in prison. And I was like, oh, his hijacking Bitcoin book, this is awesome. In fact, I tell people to read this, not my book at this point. And then 3 weeks later, he's arrested in Spain, thrown into the same prison that McAfee died in.
Oh, geez.
And, allegedly, and he's facing 109 years in prison for basically for paying his taxes. And so I looked at this, I'm like, okay, this is clearly politically motivated. So I worked with Dan O'Neill and those guys for the Enemies of the State event. And so I was
Great
there kind of
people.
representing Roger and out on bail, but his situation is very dire. And so I've gotten more involved in it. And I'm doing everything that I can to try to promote his situation, with the goal being to get a pardon and a pardon right away, like a pardon on day one. There are a lot of people that are like, well, hey, if Ross gets his sentence commuted, then he can help. And it's like, no, we need to get this done now because, if Trump is going to do anything, he's going to do it up front, and then it's going to become an absolute train wreck and nothing's going to happen. We all know that.
Do you think Trump would be willing to do a favor for someone as rich as Roger?
Well, actually, if you look, I was looking at the pardons that he's done in the past. What did he do in his first term?
War criminals, scumbags.
Well, no, he pardoned a lot of people for tax related issues, and so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility. And look, I'm not a huge I haven't voted since 2018. And I kind of given up on that process. But when I look at this. Trump has gone through lawfare, and there are actual parallels. So I don't need to require Trump to be principled or to think that, he's somehow turned over a new leaf. This is a guy who himself has been audited multiple times. He's had his attorney-client privilege breached, which has also happened to Roger. The DOJ actually raided his lawyer's office and actually took his confidential information, and they're using it against him. Trump had that happen to him with his lawyer, Michael Cohen. So all I have to do is think that, well, is it possible that Trump would be empathetic to someone who was terrorized by the same people that he was terrorized by? That's a believable thing. I mean, if you wanted to make it about some ideological principle, I'm like, yeah, this is probably a long shot.
I mean, that's what he led in at.
Trying to make it about a rich guy who could do, like.
How do you plan to get into his ear to even present this argument or this empathy?
Well, I mean, what we're doing now is we're trying to raise awareness of this.
That's
and so
why he's here.
Brett Weinstein, tweeted this 2-minute video, and a bunch of other people retweeted it, and so that's over 1 million views. There's going to be a whole podcast interview schedule. This isn't just me. This is a community-based project. So Robert Barnes, the constitutional lawyer, has done some interviews on this. He was on Alex Jones. He was on with the Fries. So hopefully, maybe we'll elevate and get some larger audiences with Barnes, which will be a great opportunity to get into his ear on this.
Oh, that's great.
And Brett Weinstein has been on Rogan a bunch of times, and also Tucker Carlson. So, who knows what might happen. But I think if you can get into Tucker's ear or Rogan's ear, then you can get Trump's ears.
Oh, is Weinstein a part of this as well?
I mean, Weinstein is obviously, he was willing to tweet it out, and he's part of the Brownstone Institute too. So he seems to be supportive of the cause. So hopefully, I hope he gets more involved as well.
Well, now it's got punk rock libertarian bump. Okay, so
exactly.
Yeah.
Huge.
So the other thing is, so Dan O'Neill, we're looking at doing another event. So and not calling it Enemies of the State, but calling it Unlocking Freedom. Maybe a few days before the inauguration, and then building to that event. So maybe that's kind of like the Enemies of the State event. It'll be, Roger, Ian, Ross, Snowden, Assange. It'll be a big group thing, but a couple of days before the inauguration to put pressure and to build up on this, because certainly we need to remind him and keep Ross front of mind as well. I mean, he doesn't necessarily have a great track record on this, so it's not like he said something and then we can count on it. We have to hold him as accountable as possible. So I think on day one, exactly. So we need to make as much noise as possible, but we got to get Roger in on day one. And by the way, I think he's going to pardon a bunch of people on day one. Who knows? Probably J6ers. There's a whole list, and usually a president does this either like right after midterms or right at the end of their term. And this is obviously a unique situation. So from my perspective, I'm doing everything that I can, and I know others are, to try to get this in front of people before the inauguration so that we can knock it out on day one.
Do you think we should be contacting Miriam Adelson about this to like go right to the top with,
Yeah, well, I don't know. I don't have any good inroads there. If you've got inroads there, then hey, go for it.
Jared's Jewish.
Yeah, let me get with my people and get back to you.
Yeah.
So I obviously, my contacts are somewhat limited within our network, and obviously, the one thing that I will say is that Angela's done a great job on this in this regard. I mean, if it weren't for Angela, Ross wouldn't be in the situation that he's in, and so she seems to have be supportive as well. She's publicly talked about this case with Roger as well. So I think if she gets involved and she supports it, she obviously knows the channel and the process, and so I really think that there's a possibility that this happens. But I do like what somebody described about this. People are like, oh, does that mean you believe in all of Trump's policies? And now all of a sudden you believe government's going to fix things. And the best example I heard is that this is a hostage negotiation.
That's right.
Right.
That's what it is.
And just look at it that way and treat it that way. And because a lot of people are like, oh, well, it's horrible to go through this process. How can you even engage in this process? And I believe in exiting and building as a better alternative and building parallel systems, but you can't do that from a cage. And so realistically, the only way these people like Ross and Roger and Ian can be productive is to not be incarcerated. So if we've got a shot to fix that, then we should, in my opinion, do whatever we can.
I think it's important to keep that in mind, that this is a hostage negotiation, because and it's one thing to say like, look, we're getting Ross out and we're making deals and we're doing it. We want Roger, we want Ian, but it's another thing. Like I see people start to believe it though. And now they're like, oh, we're not just getting Ross out, but he's going to save the country. Oh,
Right.
he's gonna do the mass deportations that give me a boner. Oh, he's gonna put these big tariffs and he's gonna save my stupid union.
Stop it, Babs. I can only get so hard.
But no, James, you said it perfectly. Your line is why I tell everyone, it's like sometimes you have to negotiate with terrorists.
But don't believe they're your friend.
Of course,
Once you achieve your objective, then you're done with them, right? You're not like, oh, I'm gonna go hang out with the Taliban
also,
now.
hey, be in his ear. Tell him, we need to get. There's more people. There's more. I mean, like honestly, Angela. Like I've been talking about this to Angela, and she's like really behind the not the Free Roger Now movement that it's going forward. So you're going to see a lot of libertarian pages and party assets. They're going to be talking. We're going to be pushing out on social media. We're going to be doing our best to bring light to this issue.
Yep. Yeah. No. And again, I think we can have some success with it. But for me, my issue has been CBDCs, and I am concerned because I actually think Trump winning will set things back on the CBDC front because people are complacent. I already see people being complacent about this. And actually, part of when I was running for president, I wrote this book, The Final Countdown, and I gave it to Vivek, and he actually read it. And I had 3 conversations with him about it, and he told Trump, because I'm in New Hampshire, to come out against CBDCs the night before the primary in New Hampshire, because Trump was still in a contested primary. But I have no reason to believe Trump understands what CBDCs are. In fact, I argue now that we already have a CBDC. It's just a matter of levels of tyranny. And so now all of a sudden you have people, like this Republican plan is, well, we're going to give stable coins to the banks. It's like, well, a stable coin is a CBDC. And so we're kind of, I don't like that aspect of it, but I'm putting that on hold for a couple of months and focusing on this pardon issue.
I mean, isn't the credit card industry in some ways already a CBDC? I mean, just the way that credit and currency is passed around and
a few changes, and it could be. For instance, they right now, like Visa gets, like if you buy something on Amazon, Visa sees that you did an Amazon purchase.
Right.
But as far as I know, they don't see the invoice and know what you bought. But it wouldn't be that hard for Visa or Chase, JP Morgan to say, well, in addition to sending us the amount, just send us the invoice or the item that they purchased so we can do a carbon analysis or, like whatever else it is. It doesn't take much to just slowly boil the pot.
Right, like we've already started pushing us away from a cashless or towards a cashless society, right?
Yeah.
Which means that things are all being logged through either the credit card companies or if people are using their debit card just directly with the bank. So, and now, to be fair though, I mean, Bitcoin obviously is a permanent ledger as well that is visible, but it's not exactly the same as like a credit card company, or it's not at that level of surveillance, I don't think.
Well, it could be, but I want to explain why I think we already have a CBDC. First of all, 92% or more of our money is digital. The way money is created is the federal government issues an IOU to the Federal Reserve, and the Federal Reserve creates the money out of thin air, literally in an Oracle database. So our money is digital. And by the way, Oracle databases are highly programmable. So what most people are concerned about with CBDCs is they're concerned that it's programmable, they're concerned that it's going to be tracked, and then they're concerned about censorship.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is that I've identified 13 different federal programs for tracking our financial transactions. The IRS is using AI in conjunction with banks to analyze our financial transactions. The NSA is doing bulk data collection. We have, through the Patriot Act, they can actually come in and shut down your bank account and then issue what's called a national security letter so that you can't even talk about it with anybody, including a lawyer. This already happens within the existing system. So the existing system is already tracked. As to programmability, your point about, so if anybody's has a health savings account or a flexible spending account, these are debit cards that are tied to a bank that can only be used to buy specific healthcare related items at specified times from certain retailers. So it's already digital programmable money. But MasterCard implemented what's called the Doconomy MasterCard. And this is actually a pilot program in conjunction with the UN. So people from 2019 to 2022 signed up voluntarily for a card that tracks your carbon and then shuts off if you use too much carbon. MasterCard, by the way, is an evil corporation. I mean,
who's going to put that in their wallet, though? Explain to me who's going to say, that's the one I want.
Well,
what's in your wallet?
People in Europe apparently are all over it. I mean, look, the amount of brainwashing that young kids have had, and from a climate alarmism perspective,
with the carbon footprint bullshit,
anxiety, they'll jump in. I mean, 33% of Gen Z would be okay with the federal government installing surveillance cameras in the home to monitor for domestic violence. I mean, there's a whole we don't even understand how badly the brainwashing has gone. So MasterCard already works with over 150 companies to track carbon. And you probably noticed when you buy an airline ticket now, it's like, well, here's how much CO2 this uses. So they've already built the infrastructure around us. And the end game for them is a single global digital currency that's backed by energy credits. And they've been working on this since, this has been the design since 1931 with Technocracy Inc. And they're building all the pieces for it. And we're kind of sitting here, I don't know, not focusing on using alternative currencies for day-to-day transactions, which is unfortunate because that is desperately what we need. So I've been focused predominantly on privacy coins as the alternative to CBDCs, because as you mentioned, Bitcoin can be tracked through chain analysis. Ross knows that. Roger knows that. Ian knows that. And then some people said, well, yeah, but you're just not doing it right. Well, it's like, I'm sorry. If you have to have an IQ of 150 and 15 years of dev experience to keep your money private, it sucks. And it doesn't work. And essentially, this is the situation that we're in. The other thing is, Tether, I think, is going to blow up. One of two things is going to happen. Either it's going to collapse or it's going to be captured by the government. Neither option is good, but Tether is digital programmable money. Tether certainly can be tracked and KYC'd and everything else. And so there are a lot of different ways we get to an enhanced level of CBDC. And I put together the CBDC tyranny index, and I will tell you there is no legislation from either party that reduces the tyranny. All of it gives more control to banks, more reporting requirements. There isn't a single piece of legislation that's passed anywhere from either party that reduces tyranny in any way, shape, or form.
Let me ask you, Aaron, do you think there is a market for a free currency? Like, I mean, we went through the adoption, like the hoping that Bitcoin would be adopted at retailers. And for years, we did campaigns going from retailer to retailer, asking them to accept Bitcoin, getting a lot to do it, but very few still do it that tried. In 2015, a lot of merchants tried it, but then nobody spent their Bitcoin at those merchants, and they stopped. And then maybe later the fees are too high, so nobody else wants to get into it. But we have plenty of other cryptocurrencies with low fees and fast transactions. The merchants aren't doing it. So where, I'm worried that we don't really have a horse in the race against CBDCs because just people aren't interested.
So it's not that they aren't interested. So first of all, there are several problems that have happened. People were adopting cryptocurrencies in that 2015 to 2017 time period. Major retailers, Overstock, Microsoft, Fiverr, Expedia were actually taking it, and people were using it, and there was excitement by it, and it was hijacked. And Roger talks about in his book, and I pick up where he left off. It was hijacked.
You're saying because of the fees got too high, because of the block size, that's why nobody's using Bitcoin for retail?
That's exactly why no one's using it. At some point, the transaction fees went to $50, and we're taking on average like 10 days.
But since then, we've got Litecoin, we've got Bitcoin Cash, we've got Dash, we've got privacy coins, we've got 100 different choices. Still no action.
So here's what happened. So again, people bought the PSYOP now on Bitcoin. The narrative shifted, and the people that funded the development, this narrative shift, also funded all 3 U.S. CBDC pilots. Nobody wants to talk about this. When Bitcoin Foundation collapsed and was no longer funding the developers with this community nonprofit project, MIT swooped in and in fact, this guy, Joy Ito, who's not only running the MIT Multimedia Lab, ran something called Garage Ventures. So he had a venture capital firm that was investing in Lightning and was investing in SegWit. And then he had MIT, which was funding developers as well, and then was also funding all 3 US CBDC pilots. So all of a sudden, the narrative shifts. And now when I've gone to 24 states. I've done these workshops all over the country. More people have Sam Bankman-Fried than Satoshi Nakamoto. This is a true story. Most people outside of our circle have never heard of the idea that you could use Bitcoin as a currency. They only know it as a speculative investment. The problem with adoption has been, so yes, you're right. People went around to retailers signing people up with a single cryptocurrency. So if I went to a retailer and I said, hey, take Bitcoin Cash, and then people would put together these maps. And it's like, oh, look at all these places that take crypto. Well, you look at the market cap of a single crypto like Dash or like Bitcoin Cash. You'd be lucky if there are 10 people within a 50-mile radius that could even go to that retailer and spend the cryptocurrency. So then some point of sale vendors were created that actually took multiple assets, because I've talked to a lot of retailers. A retailer needs to have an easy solution that's as easy as their point of sale system for taking fiat. But there has to be enough aggregate buying power across the various cryptos. Well, the problem is Ethereum and Bitcoin both are not really usable for peer-to-peer commerce. I mean, this remains true even to this day.
But we could be using these other things, but we're not.
We could, but the point of sale systems that have been developed, so BitPay was the largest, and as they became a big company, they started to get highly regulated, and now they're not taking new merchants. We had a great point of sale system in AnyPay, which was developed by some devs here in New Hampshire, some free staters. And when Ian was raided and everybody else was raided, my understanding is that the FBI knocked on their door and they didn't have a warrant, but those guys took off. So now the best multi-asset point of sale system that we had was essentially abandoned. And so even in New Hampshire, a lot of merchants that were using that system no longer have a point of sale system. So at the end, this comes down to, and this is the part where we've failed. It's easier to use. When I first got my first Bitcoin in 2012, it was easier, faster, and cheaper to use than the traditional financial system. Since then, the traditional financial system has created Venmo, Zelle, Google Pay, Apple Pay. Soon we're going to have X payments. Literally, the experience is shittier with crypto than it is with the traditional financial system. So if we're not going to compete, if we're going to continue to have like 20-year-old devs developing tech for 20-year-old devs and everybody gets off on how nerdy it is and how hard it is to use, we'll fail because the product sucks. So
Yeah,
that is
so
the barrier.
Right. So
that barrier has to be fixed.
We need better point of sale software.
We need better point of sale, and it has to be open source.
You need a better interface to it. It's all about interfaces. It's all about, can you make it easy for people to use, whether it's sending money to friends, paying at a retailer. That's the problem that's always really been around with Bitcoin, is that the interface just isn't there. It could be like a different sort of payment gateway, like Easy Pay or whatever you were talking about. But yeah, that's the stuff that's missing, and it sounds like that stuff tries to crop up, and then it just gets shut down. So that's kind of half the battle, is just trying to get it without getting busted by the feds.
But I think there's still a fundamental lack of demand. We hope this takes over, but people aren't demanding it. People aren't going into 7-Eleven and saying, "Can I spend Bitcoin Cash here?" No, they're not asking. I go into marijuana dispensaries all over the country over the past like 10 years. Every time I go in, I ask like, "Hey, are you guys accepting Bitcoin?" And they're like, "Huh? What?" And like, these people have been completely fucked over by banks. The entire industry is forced to do all kinds of crazy shit with cash, and it's completely unsafe. And they jump through all these hoops, and they're not even interested. They have no interest in accepting Bitcoin.
So I will tell you
why would anyone else be interested?
So I will tell you what I think the answer is. So again, I've done these workshops all over the country, and I've talked to merchants. And the other part of the problem is, we just onboarded CanaSense a couple weeks ago. So now they're taking crypto, they're taking Bitcoin, Monero, and Zano. But the issue is, from the merchant's perspective, they don't like the volatility of crypto. They can't. So if it's Bitcoin or Ethereum, they actually can't handle the variation in transaction fees and the potential delays. So they can't use that. And when it comes to the other cryptos, they're like, well, okay, I can't. How am I going to pay my vendors with this? And the price is too volatile. So,
but if there was a market demand, wouldn't like BitPay step right up and give these, like they have these instant conversions into fiat for merchants. Like you choose, do you want to keep your crypto or do you want to convert it into fiat? I mean, they're not demanding that either.
I don't think we've had the necessary change of consciousness yet to make it happen. I
will tell you what there is demand for after I've been doing these workshops, and I'm changing the workshop starting next year. The demand is this. I'm creating a privacy stablecoin that's backed by gold. And so now basically imagine this. You have a point of sale system that takes multiple cryptocurrencies and multiple assets, but it swaps those to one single crypto, so that the merchant is only getting one crypto, and that one crypto is a gold-backed privacy token that they can physically redeem if they want for gold. This actually solves the problem because they know that the dollar's lost 25 to 40% of its purchasing power since 2020. So by actually having something that's gold-backed, they actually realize that this is preferable to fiat. And it gets rid of that question of volatility, but it allows them to accept multiple other cryptocurrencies, knowing that they're only going to, at the end, get one cryptocurrency at the end of the process. That is something that I can tell you there's huge demand for based on my but in order to do this.
They don't want crypto. They want FRNs.
I think that I think that'd be a bridge to the boomers, because I think like a lot of boomers that understand this, they understand that they don't want fiat. They'd rather have gold, silver. They understand sound money. But when it gets into crypto, they're like, I don't understand that. I don't get this. But if it's like, hey, it's backed by something.
They don't want gold and silver either. Before Bitcoin, we were doing the same thing with Liberty dollars. We were going around to merchants and trying to get them to accept warehouse receipts for silver and gold and tokens and silver coins, and it was the same deal. Like
completely.
It's not as saleable. It's not saleable because you can't go and buy something on Amazon with silver, right?
So
right.
You can't pay your employees probably don't want to get paid in heavy metals.
They need FRNs for their business.
So, I mean, a couple things. One, life is completely different post-COVID. What people would have been like with Liberty dollars is nothing like what people are like post-COVID. Otherwise, I wouldn't have these workshops where, people show up and pay money to actually hear this stuff for 4 hours. These are people that 7 years ago never would have been interested in this.
How many people sign up for your workshops?
They're anywhere from 50 to 250 people, and they're growing in size. And by the time I do the workshops next time, I'm going to add a merchant component. So here's the goal that I have for the work. In fact, it's not the goal. This is going to be a prerequisite. The workshops that I'm going to do starting next year, we will be not only onboarding new people to crypto, where they will have a multi-asset wallet where they will receive crypto. We will be setting up and onboarding merchants in the workshop so that at the end of the experience, you will have somebody actually making a direct peer-to-peer, P2P transaction from a retailer. All of which have just been onboarded from the workshop. And there is interest for this, but there is also interest. I mean, again, a gold-backed stable coin is something that people could actually start using in place of the dollar, because at some point, dollar has lost 25 to 40% of its purchasing in 4 years. This is worse than at any point, since 1913. And people know it. Small businesses know it. But here's the other problem with this is, a lot of times people they assume we're going to get mainstream market adoption. That's not how technology works. Technology goes through an adoption curve. You have innovators that are 2.5%, and then you go to early adopters, which is like 13.5%. Then you go to early majority. We need to focus on creating solutions for the innovators. Well, who are the innovators going to be? They're going to be the merchant categories were targeted by Operation Choke Point 1.0. They're going to be the merchant categories that have already been debanked. I mean, there's a Venn diagram here of people that have already been debanked, and also because of COVID tyranny and everything else, they're actually.
So you're saying like firearms dealers or ammunition suppliers or
firearms, food. We're talking about or in the health freedom space. We're talking about milk. That's a huge, raw milk, but also just farming in general. There's been a crackdown on that. Obviously, Second Amendment. It's a long list of like 20 different categories. And if you think about it, it's if the shit hit the fan, can you get a merchant network together that can provide the basics for people, the basic kind of supplies for people? And I don't have any expectation that Amazon or Walmart are going to do this, but Amazon and Walmart are the problem. These WEF partner companies are not going to be the salvation or the pathway to liberty. At some point, people have to decide where they're going to place their attention and energy. And if they want to place it there, then they're going to end up living in a fucking pod, and they're going to basically have their wheels grabbed. The decision is, what are you going to do?
I think we all feel like that's where we're headed, and why should we even care at this point? Because,
well, I mean, I think we should care. We've got free will. We should just exercise it. Like we could end this stuff pretty quickly. People just don't have a lot of knowledge about it. But again, none of this is going to work unless the tools are easy to use. And so unless the point of sale system is easy to use, and yes, unless the wallet is as easy to use as Venmo, and unless the point of sale system is as easy to use as Clover or whatever the other point of sale system is that merchants are getting, if we don't actually,
but it's more than that though. It's got to be driven by the customers. The customers have to show up saying, "Can I pay with Bitcoin Cash?" And if they're not asking that 20 times a day, that merchant will not ever take crypto.
And there has to be an incentive. Like, that's why I'm saying there has to be a change in consciousness, because at the end of the day, there's not much of a difference experience-wise from sending something on Venmo to sending Bitcoin to someone else. Even if it's like if it's the same exact, if we make it perfectly usable, perfectly a great user experience for, you know, a Bitcoin transaction app, what is the difference going to be between that app and just using Venmo, right? They have to desire the privacy. They have to desire the sound money. They have to have this knowledge. Otherwise, there is no incentive.
Come with a discount,
which is
what the merchant.
Well, yeah, it could be the merchants drive it because they know,
because they don't have the risk of chargebacks.
right?
So they can offer a little bit of, they can throw back a little bit.
Which is
Sure.
why, go back to, it's you know, this business is already there for the innovator class, 2.5%. This is why, but what there hasn't been is, so we haven't gotten all of the Operation Choke Point 1 debanked people together and said, here is a multi-asset solution. It's been somebody going and saying, here's Bitcoin Cash, sign up for Bitcoin Cash, and somebody saying, here's Dash, sign up for Dash. Unless the point of sale solution has a combined buying power that is enough for the merchant to actually get some orders, it is a waste of time. So you end up, it has to be this intersection of, and by the way, I promote gold and silver too. I use gold back as well. And then there are 2,000 merchants that take gold backs, over 150 in New Hampshire. But it's got to be a multi-asset approach. That has not been the way this has been done. So we shouldn't be surprised when just Bitcoin Cash people went and tried to sign up Bitcoin Cash, and then Dash went and signed, and it's all separate wallets. And then every time that this happened, it was the business owner who set up a wallet on their own phone. That is not a solution.
Right.
That isn't a solution that employees can use. That's not an effective way
Right.
of
It's a
building
big
out a
pain in the
retail
butt
network.
for a business to implement a new payment strategy, even for just like a bar. Let's just say you're a bar, okay? You've got a dozen waitresses, a couple bartenders. You got 3 or 4 different payment terminals. You got to train 25 people. You've got software issues. You've got back-end issues. You've got accounting issues. If the customers aren't demanding it, there's no way in hell they're going to even address that.
Well, again, they will address it if there's the customers aren't demanding it because the customers know that no one is taking it, right? Like it's not like you're going to be you're not going to walk into an establishment if you don't see Bitcoin Cash taken here or crypto taken here, you're not going to assume to ask. And again, the problem is, to your point, we need a point of sale system that's actually easy to use, and we need people that are doing this that have.
But even an easy to use point of sale system is a major intrusion into a business to change. This is not something that's going to be changed because, let's see what happens if we change this. No, they need customers lined up begging for it before they will even go down there.
Or a monetary incentive, though, right? Because like if they can save on the 3% credit card fees or whatever, then that might be enough to warrant like the upfront cost of setting up the service. And and if the onboarding is easy, then it isn't that much overhead to get it set up.
It's not easy. It's not going to be easy to onboard a bar, a TGI Friday.
But why? I mean, it can be easy.
No, here's the thing. Again, I'm going to go back to this. Fuck TGI Fridays. Fuck large corporations. This is not the point of this.
Those aren't large corporations. Those are just
I don't want large
businesses.
corporations. We have to start with businesses that understand what the problem is. And let's start with Operation Choke Point, and then every business that's been screwed over since COVID, which was disproportionately small businesses relative to large businesses. Amazon did great. Mom and pop stores didn't do well. They understand this. The question, but no one has sat down and put together a presentation in front of a group of merchants that says, okay, let me put this in context for you, which is why I do these 4-hour workshops. Here's what's going on with the dollar. Here's what's going on with CBDCs. You are going to be put completely out of business because there is no framework in this technocracy for small businesses. And by the way, here's an easy to use point of sale system. And let's get merchants together in a group in the local area that can trade with each other, and let's get it started at the innovator level. That's the only way it's going to work. But most people are like, yeah, if you start off like Walmart's not going to adopt this, or we're not getting mainstream adoption, and there is no technology that's out with. So that's not going to doing it. But no one has taken a focused multi-asset approach going after a very targeted group of merchants. That has not happened. I mean, if it has, I'm not aware of it, but I would think, given how long I've been in this and that I'm in New Hampshire, I'd know about it.
I mean,
so
you mentioned AnyPay and Derek J's efforts in the past, and how that was a multi crypto, pretty easy to use payments system.
Yep.
You know, it did have a future. I thought that was great what they were doing there. They had that whole community in Portsmouth. It's a shame that collapsed, but I feel like it's a network problem. It's a chicken and the egg problem. And, I guess we kind of have to attack it from all sides, but I'm afraid by the time people realize they need an alternative to CBDCs, it's just going to be too late.
But again, what we did not do is follow traditional adoption curves. We did not take an approach to rolling this out in any way, shape, or form that follows the way this stuff logically proceeds. And by the way, I may be forking AnyPay as the starting point for this. The demise of AnyPay was that it was a corporation, and that the founders of the corporation, therefore centralized, and the founders had to leave because the FBI was going after Liberty crypto people here in New Hampshire. It didn't fail because no one wanted to use it. It was actually getting some adoption. There were a lot of merchants. I've used AnyPay. I've actually worked with those guys on trying to get, Raven coin added to it. So it's not that it isn't possible. And again, all of this is now post-COVID. So you would be surprised. And until you go out and talk to people that I'm a fellow at the Brownstone Institute, and I talk to people all the time through the Brownstone Institute. These are people that were radicalized by COVID. These were people that would never have been even considering some of this stuff. And you would be shocked. Like literally, I've been there trying to onboard 100 boomers at one time to crypto. They're interested. They're interested in participating in this. These are people. So we can't use what things were like 7 years ago or even 5 years time pre-COVID, or we also can't use any of the coins or the technologies that we were previously using because they don't compete. They're not competitive. But the one thing that we can say is people are using digital currencies and digital payment systems. Because I've heard people say, oh, well, people just don't want to use digital money. People already use digital money. Ridiculous argument. But what we haven't had is like a Steve Jobs level absolute fanaticism about building a user experience for people that is easy to use. That has not been part of crypto. And you can see that with stuff like, it's almost like, well, if it's not hard to use, then I can't be an exclusive club where, me and my buddies know how to use this complicated thing and you don't. You're a moron.
Are you talking about merchant software, or what are you talking about?
I'm talking about all of crypto. I mean, literally, it's. There are a few examples. I mean, I like Cake Wallet, for instance, but a lot of this stuff, like Lightning Network, is absurd. Like a lot of this stuff is just not. And again, I'll get in arguments with people. It's like, well, all you have to do is do A, B, C, D, E, and F, and then it can work right. And it's like, okay, money should not be complicated. Money can't be complicated. And I will tell you, I've studied a lot about what they're doing with CBDCs. They're doing CBDCs. You don't have to have an internet connection. They'll just use, NFC cards where they'll load it on. And so you don't have to have an internet connection. You'll be spending your CBDC on a card, computer, stuff for people that are very impaired. They'll have it at work. If you have to, you'll go to a post office. Like they're building everybody use. And like we're going the other way. We're going on, well, it's if you can't do these three things, you're not running your own node. Oh my God. Well, it's like, okay, so we're gonna lose because we suck at building software that people can use. That's it, period. Now, the fact that the government is trying to throw all of our people in jail and that the regulators are trying to tax this, that doesn't help either. I'm not saying that, like, I'm not saying this is an easy situation. It's not an easy situation, but if we don't start with the premise that our product has to be as good or better, if we don't start with that, we will lose 100%. There's no doubt about that.
Well, I hope to see some great merchant software. I think that would definitely help, and I'd love to see some businesses adopt it. I mean, I'd be happy to go out and buy whatever shit coin they want. I don't care what it is, Like,
But he's saying you wouldn't even have to, right? You could buy Monero or something, and then maybe on their end they accept, or they're going to convert it into Dash, right? Isn't that the idea?
Yeah. So there's already so here I would tell you what my thinking on this is, and I put out this DEF CON 1 project where I'm like, all right, I'm going to build a wallet, I'm going to build a point of sale system. My purpose is if I can find it, I'll partner with it. Cake Wallet is pretty good. Cake Wallet actually started out for Monero, and then it has a whole variety of different coins, Bitcoin, it's going to have Xeno, Litecoin, and then it also has something called Cake Pay where you can buy gift certificates, has a swapping service, all of it within the wallet, and it's open source. That's the best solution that I've seen in terms of a wallet. And on the point of sale system, like what I envision is it's kind of a hybrid between Now Payments, which is something that you can get right now that I've been using for years. Now Payments already works where you can basically put a plug into your website, WordPress or WooCommerce or whatever it is, and you select which cryptos you want to take, and then you select which single crypto you want to get paid in. And so it automatically kind of does the swapping service because they have Now Payments also has Change Now, and so they have their own swapping service. And so that's pretty good for merchants. Unfortunately, it's not open source. So if you could blend kind of AnyPay and Now Payments, if you could put those two together and add to it a gold-backed privacy stable where that's what merchants convert into, then I think that you have the beginnings of something that might actually work. Because when I talk to merchants they know the dollar sucks. They just don't see crypto as the answer because of the volatility. And I think addresses part of the issue. So those are the pieces I think in place, and I'm working on that with all of these players. I think it's the shot because the alternative is horrendous. And I'm writing a new book. I wrote this book, The Final Countdown. My new book is basically, we already have a social credit system. It's called the tax code. And we already have a CBDC because we already have digital money that's programmable, tracked, and censorable. And by the way, when I say censorable, let's see who's been debanked recently. Melania Trump, Barron Trump, Kanye West, Nick Fuentes, and Dr. Joseph Mercola. Those are just a few. Of course, we all know all of our friends, and we've probably all been debanked or had some issue with it. But this is now hitting the mainstream in terms of being debanked, and that circumstance isn't going to change anytime soon. And so it's a race because we know their time period is 2030. So they want to have this stuff in place. And I could go and I know we don't have an infinite amount of time here, but I could explain exactly how CBDCs are just part of the problem. CBDCs are a form of digital money that can be programmed and tracked. They're going to tokenize all of our other assets, our non-monetary assets, our stocks, our bonds, our homes, our cars, our computers. They're going to tokenize in the same way as CBDCs, and they're going to tie all that together. And then basically it's called a regulated liability network. The US has one, Japan is building one, the EU is building one, and they're all going to interoperate. What this means is at the end, there's going to be one global platform that everybody's assets are digitized on that can be programmable. So that is literally what they're building while we're sitting here.
Hopefully I'll be dead by then.
Well, yeah, if you're going to be dead by 2030, look, here's the problem with all of
the way Bab lives, maybe.
Yeah. By the way, not to bring more doom to this, but like Bitcoin developers have been involved in these CBDC pilots. You have one Bitcoin developer working on Project Hamilton. He's actually a co-author of the retail CBDC white paper and this regulated liability network thing that I'm talking about, where they tokenize everything else. Mike Hearn, who is one of the first 5 Bitcoin developers, is the guy creating that platform. So they've been working on this stuff for years. So while we're sitting around with, hot dog meme coin and NFTs, and I'll talk to people like, oh, tokenization, that's stupid. Nobody's going to do that. They're literally doing this with our stocks and our bonds. And we're sitting around thinking how cool we are flipping Pepe. Our problems are our own. We have to actually compete. We have to understand what other people are doing. And frankly, there's not a lot of market research that's been going on in the crypto space relative to what's going on outside of the crypto space.
Nice. Well, looks like we're about up on an hour. I don't know if you guys wanted to play this, the Roger Ver video before we head out, just so people can see it. All the people who are still watching can check this out.
I want to tell you about my own story about being tortured in federal prison in the United States.
Roger Ver, unfortunately, today he got arrested.
Free Roger.
Free Roger. The real reason that I actually went to prison is because I was busy saying things like the things that I'm going to say in this video. Taxation is theft, and war is mass murder, funded by theft.
Roger, Bitcoin Jesus himself, was a true pioneer.
Here you got one of the most independent people in the world preaching and teaching people to individually empower themselves around the globe.
He's been very supportive of the work we do.
He's also an inspiration to a lot of people around the globe.
I couldn't express any more of how great of a person he was.
In 2014, Roger Ver left the United States. America apparently is the land of the free. You should be free to just leave.
The United States government considers you to be their property.
Roger paid millions of dollars to the United States government, and they're saying now that it's not enough.
You read the quotes from his lawyer, it's like, this is the evidence of someone trying to comply with the law.
He did everything according to the book.
Nobody's ever gone to jail for that, ever.
The DOJ is actually using the Bitcoin Jesus term. They're literally going to crucify Bitcoin Jesus.
Just because some people get together and write down words on a piece of paper and call it a law, that doesn't alter morality one bit.
They're using the Trump case as a template for how they can go after any dissident.
This is very scary, frankly, 10 years later.
Government and central banks do not want this story out there.
The truth doesn't bend to whether or not we like it being the truth or not.
Roger's a good guy, and we all owe him a lot. It's really sad.
To say that he is instrumental in Bitcoin would be a radical understatement.
He's really believed in Bitcoin for the reasons that people should believe in Bitcoin.
It disgusts me from my core when I see government murdering people around the world. And Bitcoin has the power to undermine everything they're doing to people around the world.
Is it a coincidence? The only guy that's ever been criminally prosecuted on an exit tax interpretation is the guy that was exposing the intelligence community's attempts to infiltrate the Bitcoin movement.
There's nothing we can do to change the past, but we can work together to change the future.
From this moment forward, I'm on the same side as Roger.
Free Roger.
Free Roger. What's your...
It's as crazy a case as you can possibly imagine.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, that's great.
Really good video. So yeah, everybody, we'll probably post that from our account if we haven't already. So feel free to find us on at Punk Rock Liberty and give it a share. But Aaron, thanks for coming on, man. We're gonna wrap this up now. But why don't you tell everyone where they can find you and any other information you want to let us know about freerogernow.org.
You daylightfreedom.org, but I mean, for the time being, I'm actually mostly focused on promoting this freerogernow.org campaign. And by the way, I do want to add that my belief is that Roger's targeted because, think about it, what is the IRS? The IRS is a collection agency for the Federal Reserve. And no single person, in my opinion, has been more effective at actually targeting and going after CBDCs than Roger. Roger's message from the very beginning has been peer-to-peer digital cash. That's why he got into Bitcoin. That's why he transferred away from Bitcoin to Bitcoin Cash. And by the way, and a lot of people don't know this, but Roger had moved really into privacy coins, basically understanding that these public ledgers were being tracked by the CIA using chain analysis. And so when I interviewed Roger about hijacking Bitcoin, one of the things that he told me about was Zeno, which is a privacy coin. I think that they're crucifying Bitcoin Jesus so that he doesn't become Zeno Zeus, because I think that he was going to go out there and start spreading around the world that we still need peer-to-peer digital cash, and it needs to be private so that they literally can't technically shut it down. And so I think Roger's probably the most effective person, and I think he's been silenced because of that, and that's why he's in the predicament that he's in. And so, to me, the most important thing to do is make sure that he doesn't go to prison and that he can come out and fight the good fight.
I think that's important, and I think we need to recognize that Roger has been what Roger's done for so many of our other causes in the liberty movement. He's certainly been a huge supporter of Ross. Almost any liberty project you can name, Roger has put his money behind it, and he, despite whatever you think about the block size wars, and Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin, it's irrelevant. There's no denying what he has been as a force for both Bitcoin and for liberty and for supporting so many things, so many people. It's like this is the time where we really need to come together and get behind him. I really don't care about Bitcoin Cash. I really don't care about block size. Like, seriously, this is like it's important that he be released as soon as possible. It's up to us to make as much noise as we can about that, because they go after him because he has the resources, right? But it could be anybody. It definitely could be anybody.
Yep.
And
well, it could be anybody. And just to say one more thing about the legal precedent is they're going after his Bitcoin from 2014. They're going after him retroactively on stuff that is literally 10 years old. And so it would depend. It doesn't matter where you are in this war. They all it is a term. So you're in crypto, out of crypto, you're going to be affected by this breach of attorney-client privilege, because it means you can no longer rely on your lawyer to give you advice, or you have to be concerned that they're going to breach that confidence and then try to use that information again. And on the block size war thing, the thing that people have to understand, because I've seen a couple of Bitcoin maxis that have got upset about this. If Roger loses, the Bitcoin maxis are all next, because the precedent that's being set here is that you can go after. They're going after his Bitcoin. They're not going after his Bitcoin Cash. They're going after Bitcoin from 2014. That's what is at stake here. And I talked to somebody at an event who works for the IRS, who said that the number one area of IRS agents, the number one area they're hiring is crypto enforcement. So if Roger loses, this is an absolute travesty for everybody, regardless of which cryptocurrency you're involved in. So I think it's really important that everybody stands behind Roger, even if for no other reason, out of your own self-interest, if you're in Bitcoin.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, boy, it's depressing, but hopefully we can, get him out, and that blows. But yeah, anyway, well, that's kind of a crappy way to end it, but we have an after hours podcast which we're going to record right after this, fortunately. So if you guys want to check that out, you guys can sign up for our Patreon. If you guys go to patreon.com/punkrocklibertarians, you'll find ways to listen to that podcast. Sign up for as little as $3 a month. It's our base level to get in and get access to that in the back catalog of episodes. We also have t-shirts for sale over at libertariancountry.com. Use the code PRL or PRL Podcast. You get a 10% discount. Use the code PRL2 and spend $50 or more. You will get a 20% discount. Also, find other ways to donate to our show over at PRLfans.com. And until next time, live free
or die.